In a buzzing Miami courtroom, a cocky judge smirks at Donald Trump, 78, accused of bulldozing laws with his latest venture. The crowd's electric. Reporters, cameras, everyone expecting a circus. Prosecutors ready to bury him. Then Trump stands, grinning. Your laws are fake news. I'll prove it. Silence. What explodes next isn't just a trial. It's a Trump-style showdown that could flip the legal game upside down. Miami, March 1st, 2025. The air in courtroom 12 buzzed with anticipation, a humid crackle of excitement rippling through the packed gallery. Every seat was taken. Reporters scribbled furiously, cameras hummed, and a mix of Trump loyalists and detractors whispered in the aisles. At the center of it all sat Donald Trump, 78, the former president turned business titan. His latest venture, Trump Horizon, now under fire for allegedly steamrolling federal regulations. His trademark golden hair caught the light, and that familiar smirk played on his lips, unshaken by the chaos around him. This wasn't his first rodeo, and the crowd knew it. Up on the bench, Judge Eddie Torres, 40, flipped through a stack of documents with a sharp, impatient flick of his wrist. Young for judge, Torres carried a reputation for cutting through nonsense with a razor tongue. He adjusted his glasses, peering down at Trump with a mix of curiosity and disdain. "Mr. Trump," he said, his voice dripping with mockery, "this isn't one of your rallies, or that little TV show you used to do. This is a courtroom. My courtroom." A ripple of laughter spread through the room, the gallery eating it up. Torres leaned back, arms crossed, clearly enjoying the moment. He'd heard the stories. Everyone had, but today, he was the one holding the gavel. Across the aisle, prosecutor Clara Reyes, 45, stood poised and predatory, her dark eyes locked on Trump like a hawk circling prey. She'd spent months building this case, and now, in front of a national audience, she was ready to deliver the knockout. Dressed in a crisp navy suit, she radiated confidence, her heels clicking as she strode toward the judge. "Your Honor," she began, her tone smooth and commanding, "we're here today because this man, Donald J. Trump, thinks he's bigger than the law. His so-called Trump Horizon has trampled regulations, ignored protocols, and operated with an arrogance that's frankly astonishing, even for him." She shot a glance at Trump, daring him to react. He didn't. Not yet. The gallery buzzed louder. Phones buzzed with live updates. Hashtags already trending. Hashtag Trump trial. Hashtag Miami showdown. Reporters scribbled quotes, eager to splash Reyes's opener across every front page. This was more than a trial. It was theater, and Miami was the perfect stage. Outside, the sun blazed over the courthouse steps, where protesters waved signs, some reading "Lock him up," others Trump 2028. Inside, the air conditioning strained against the heat of the moment. Torres tapped his gavel lightly, silencing the room. "Let's keep this moving, Ms. Reyes. I assume you've got more than hot air to throw at us." Another chuckle from the crowd. Reyes nodded, unfazed, and turned to face the jury. 12 locals, a mix of skeptics and believers, their faces unreadable. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said, gesturing toward Trump, "this isn't about politics or personality. It's about facts. Trump Horizon has violated federal oversight laws, laws that exist to protect us all, not just the little people he loves to talk about." She paused for effect, letting the jab sink in. He thinks he can bulldoze his way through rules like he's still building casinos in Atlantic City. But not today. Trump sat still, hands folded, his expression a mask of calm. If he was rattled, he didn't show it. His lawyer, a wiry man in a pinstripe suit, scribbled notes beside him, but Trump waved him off with a flick of his hand. He didn't need a script. He never had. The judge noticed, raising an eyebrow. "Mr. Trump," Torres said, leaning forward, "you're awfully quiet down there. What's the matter? No tweets to save you today." The room erupted again, laughter bouncing off the wood-paneled walls. Even the jury cracked a few smiles. Reyes seized the moment, stepping closer to the bench with a thick binder in hand. "Your Honor, the evidence is overwhelming. We've got documents, timestamps, witness statements. Trump Horizon didn't just bend the rules. It smashed them to pieces. And Mr. Trump? He signed off on every move." She slapped the binder down, the thud echoing like a gunshot. "This isn't a game. It's a reckoning. The gallery held its breath, waiting for Trump to crack. He'd been here before, lawsuits, investigations, endless scrutiny, but this felt different. The stakes were higher, the spotlight hotter. Torres smirked again, flipping through Reyes's binder with exaggerated care. "Well, Mr. Trump," he said, his voice thick with amusement, "I hope you've got something up your sleeve, because this doesn't look good. Or are we just here to watch you squirm?" For the first time, Trump shifted in his seat. He adjusted his red tie, the same shade he'd worn through every campaign, every crisis. Slowly, he stood, all 6 feet 3 inches of him towering over the defense table. The room went dead silent, every eye locked on him. He turned to Torres, then to Reyes, and finally to the jury, his grin widening. "Your Honor," he began, his voice booming with that unmistakable swagger. "These laws? Total disaster. Worst I've ever seen. Written by losers who didn't know the internet was coming sad." A murmur swept the courtroom, shock mixing with disbelief. "And I'm going to prove it. Believe me." Torres's smirk faltered. Reyes gripped her podium, knuckles whitening. The jury leaned forward. Whatever they'd expected, this wasn't it. Trump wasn't just defending himself. He was about to turn the whole damn trial into a stage. And in Miami, with the world watching, that's exactly what everyone should have seen coming. The Miami courtroom hung in a stunned hush, Donald Trump's words still reverberating off the walls. "These laws? Total disaster. Worst I've ever seen." Judge Eddie Torres blinked, his smirk dissolving into a tight line as he gripped his gavel. Prosecutor Clara Reyes froze mid-step, her binder of evidence suddenly feeling heavier in her hands. The jury, 12 everyday Floridians, shifted in their seats, exchanging glances. Trump, 78, stood tall at the defense table, his red tie blazing under the fluorescent lights, that signature grin spreading wider. This wasn't a retreat, it was a counterattack. Reyes recovered first, her voice slicing through the silence. "Your Honor, this is absurd. He's mocking the court." She spun toward the jury, her dark hair swinging with emotion. "Ladies and gentlemen, don't be fooled by the theatrics. Trump Horizon didn't just break rules, it bulldozed them. We've got financial records, emails, signed contracts, all with his name on them." She jabbed a finger at Trump, her tone rising. "He thinks he's untouchable because he's Donald Trump. But the law doesn't care about fame or ego." Torres nodded, leaning forward. "Ms. Reyes has a point, Mr. Trump. You're not in Mar-a-Lago, schmoozing donors. This is serious. So, what's this disaster you're talking about? Or is this just another soundbite?" The gallery chuckled, a few reporters tapping out tweets, #TrumpFlops. But Trump didn't flinch. He adjusted his cuffs, slow and deliberate, then stepped forward, his voice booming like he was back on the campaign trail. "Eddie, can I call you Eddie? These laws are a joke. A total mess. Written by bureaucrats who couldn't run a lemonade stand, let alone my business." Sap. The judge's eyes narrowed. "It's Your Honor, Mr. Trump. And I'd like some specifics." The crowd leaned in, sensing blood. Reyes smirked, crossing her arms, ready to pounce. But Trump was already moving, grabbing a thick legal tome from his lawyer's pile and slamming it onto the table with a thud. "Specifics? Oh, I've got specifics. Tremendous specifics. Look at this. Page 87, section 19.2. Says I can't operate without approval. Fine. But flip to 19.4. Says approval isn't needed if the text new. Which is it, Eddie? You tell me." A murmur rippled through the room. Torres snatched the book, flipping to the pages, his brow furrowing as he scanned the text. Reyes lunged forward, her voice sharp. "That's a misrepresentation. He's twisting words to..." Trump cut her off, pointing at her like she was a debate opponent. Clara, relax. You're upset because you didn't read it. I did. I always read the fine print. Best deal maker. Everyone says so. This law is a contradiction. A loser law. Can't enforce something that doesn't make sense." The gallery buzzed. Some laughed, others gasped. Reporters scribbled furiously. #Trump versus law. Torres adjusted his glasses, reading aloud. "Approval required. Unless innovation exceeds current scope." Huh. He looked up, his confidence wavering. Reyes, sensing the shift, doubled down. "Your Honor, he's cherry-picking. The intent of the law is clear. Trump Horizon ignored oversight, plain and simple." She slapped another document onto the bench, a timeline of alleged violations. He signed these orders himself. Trump waved her off, unfazed. Clara, you've got nothing. These rules? Older than my first casino. I built Atlantic City while these clowns were typing on typewriters. My company's cutting edge, best in the world. You can't judge a rocket with a horse and buggy rulebook. He turned to the jury, locking eyes with a middle-aged man in a polo shirt. You get it, right? Common sense. They hate it because I'm winning. The juror nodded slightly, caught in Trump's orbit. Torres banged his gavel, silencing the rising chatter. Enough grandstanding, Mr. Trump. If you got a point, make it fast. Trump grinned, flipping the book to another page. Oh, I'm just getting started. Section 22.1 says fines apply only after notice. Never got one. Not a single letter. Tremendous oversight by Clara's team. Total failure. Sad. He tossed the book down, hands on hips, staring down Reyes like a prize fighter. Reyes paled, rifling through her notes. That's we sent. Trump pounced. You didn't. Check your mailroom, Clara. Maybe it's with Hillary's emails. The gallery erupted. Laughter, groans, a chaotic mix. Torres hammered his gavel again, face reddening. Order. Ms. Reyes, is this true? No notice? She stammered. We assumed compliance was... Trump jumped in, voice soaring. Assumed? Assumed? I don't assume I win. You got no case, Eddie. It's a witch hunt. Same old story. The room tilted. Torres rubbed his temple, staring at the contradictory law in front of him. Reyes gripped her podium, her knockout slipping away. The jury whispered, some smirking, others frowning. Trump sat back down, arms crossed, grinning like he'd just clinched a debate. Disaster laws, disaster case. I told you, believe me. The air crackled with uncertainty. Whatever came next, Trump had flipped the script, and the trial was now his game. The Miami courtroom pulsed with tension. Donald Trump's last jab, disaster laws, disaster case, still hanging in the air like a taunt. Judge Eddie Torres sat rigid, his fingers drumming the bench, the contradictory law book open in front of him. Prosecutor Clara Reyes, her face a mask of barely contained fury, gripped her podium, her once sure victory teetering. The jury watched, riveted, as Trump leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, that Cheshire cat grin gleaming. The gallery buzzed. Reporters typed furiously, live feeds exploding with hashtag Trump strikes again. But the fight wasn't over. Reyes took a sharp breath, her eyes narrowing as she pivoted to the bench. Your Honor, she said, her voice steady but edged with desperation. Mr. Trump can dodge and deflect all he wants, but we've got something he can't talk his way out of. She reached into her briefcase, pulling out a sleek black folder emblazoned with classified in bold red letters. The room hushed, every head craning forward. This, she announced, holding it aloft, is a confidential report, direct evidence that Trump Horizon knowingly violated federal oversight. Dates, signatures, the works. It's over. A collective gasp swept the courtroom. Cameras zoomed in, flashes popping like gunfire. Torres raised an eyebrow. Intrigued, trots himself. Ms. Reyes, this better be good. Hand it over. She strode forward, slapping the folder onto the bench with a dramatic flourish. Page 7, Your Honor. Trump's signature, clear as day, approving actions he knew were illegal. He can't deny this. She shot Trump a triumphant glare, her smirk returning. The jury leaned in, whispering. Reporters tweeted, hashtag Trump caught. Trump didn't move. Not a twitch. His lawyer started to rise, but Trump waved him down with a lazy flick of his wrist. Relax, he muttered, loud enough for the front row to hear. Then he stood, slow and deliberate, adjusting his tie as if prepping for a press conference. The room held its breath. Torres skimmed the report, his brow furrowing. Mr. Trump, he said, tapping the page, this looks bad. Your name's right here. Care to explain? Trump chuckled, a deep, rolling sound that filled the silence. Eddie, he began, shaking his head like a disappointed parent. This is fake news. The fakest. I mean, tremendous fakery, best I've seen. The gallery erupted, laughter from his fans, groans from his foes. Reyes snapped. Your Honor, he's stalling. That document's airtight. Trump turned to her, pointing a finger. Clara, you're panicking. Let's check the date on this bombshell. Go ahead. Eddie flipped to the cover. Torres hesitated, then opened the folder's front page. His eyes widened. March 1st, 2025, he read aloud, voice flat. The room froze. Trump pounced, his voice booming. March 1st? That's today, folks. They wrote this last night, probably in some sweaty back room, while I was eating steak at Mar-a-Lago. Laughter exploded, drowning out Reyes's protest. Your Honor, that's Trump cut in, fake. A total setup. How about the best tech, projectors, screens, you name it. Let's show the metadata. Prove it to fraud. Before Torres could object, Trump's lawyer scrambled, hooking up a laptop to the courtroom's projector. The screen flickered to life, displaying the file's properties. Created, March 1st, 2025, 2:14 a.m. The gallery gasped again, louder this time. Reporters hammered their keyboards. Hashtag Trump exposes fake. Torres slammed his gavel, face reddening. Ms. Reyes, explain this now. She stammered. It's a clerical error. The content still, Trump roared. Error? It's a lie. You've got nothing, Clara, nothing. Witch hunt. Same as always. The jury exchanged looks, some amused, others stunned. Torres rubbed his temple, staring at the screen, then the folder. Ms. Reyes, he said, voice low. If this is fabricated, we've got a problem. A big one. She rallied, thrusting a finger at Trump. He's bluffing. The signature's real. I swear it. Trump grinned wider, stepping closer to the bench. Real? I signed deals, huge deals, not your little gotcha papers. You think I'd waste my fabulous signature on that? Check the ink, Eddie, probably still wet. The room dissolved into chaos. Laughter, shouts, gavel bangs. Torres yelled, order, order, but the tide had turned. Trump folded his arms, basking in it. They're desperate, folks. Worst prosecutors, total losers. I told you, believe me. Reyes sank in her chair, the folder, now a smoking gun, aimed at her own case. The jury whispered, the gallery roared, and Torres stared, his control slipping. Trump had flipped it again, not just defending but dominating. And the real fireworks were still to come. The Miami courtroom crackled with a strange energy, the fallout from the fake report still sizzling in the air. Judge Eddie Torres slumped back in his chair, glasses fogging slightly from the heat of the moment. The classified folder now a crumpled mess on his bench. Prosecutor Clara Reyes sat rigid, her face a mask of defiance, but her hands betrayed her, trembling as she clutched her notes. Donald Trump, 78, stood at the defense table, his red tie a beacon in the chaos, his grin unshaken. The jury watched him, some with smirks, others with wide-eyed awe. The gallery hummed. Reporters lived tweeting every second. Hashtag Trump takedown fail. Torres cleared his throat, banging his gavel once for order. All right, Mr. Trump, he said, his tone weary but curious. You've made your point about the report. But let's get back to the case. Ms. Reyes says Trump Horizon broke the law, signature or not. What's your defense? The room stilled, all eyes on Trump. He straightened, running a hand through his golden hair, then stepped forward like a general taking the field. Eddie, he began, ignoring the judge's glare at the nickname, this isn't about laws. It's about winning. I'm a winner. Best in history. Everyone says so. And these rules? Total losers. Reyes leapt up, voice sharp. Objection. He's grandstanding again. Torres waved her off. Overruled. Let him talk. I want to hear this. Trump winked at the jury, then grabbed the law book from earlier, flipping it open with flair. Look here. Section 25.3 says new tech needs new rules. I'm new tech, tremendous cutting-edge stuff. Trump Horizon is making America great again, and they want to stop me with junk from the 70s? Sat. He tossed the book down, pointing at Reyes. Clara's mad because she's stuck in the past. I'm the future, believe me. The jury leaned in, a retiree in the back nodding faintly. Torres squinted at the text, lips pursed. That's an interpretation, he muttered. Reyes pounced, slamming her hand on her podium. It's a dodge. He's twisting it. Trump Horizon ignored mandatory reviews, period. Trump spun to her, voice booming. Reviews? I don't need reviews from bureaucrats who can't spell innovation. I built empires while they were licking stamps. This law's a bad deal, worse deal. If it's broke, you fix it. Not me, Clara. The system. A murmur swept the room. Some cheers, some boos. Torres rubbed his temple, but his eyes stayed on Trump. You're saying the law is outdated? Trump nodded, pacing now. Outdated? It's a fossil. I got a case, beautiful case, 2018, right here in Florida. Company got off because the rules didn't fit the tech. Same deal. I'm not breaking laws. I'm ahead of them. Ahead of everyone. He jabbed a thumb at his chest, grinning. Genius move, best move. Reyes grit her teeth, her voice rising. He's bluffing, Your Honor. That precedent doesn't apply. He's just throwing smoke. Trump laughed loud and brash. Smoke? I'm the fire, Clara. You're the one choking. I make jobs, I make progress. America loves it. You make paperwork. The gallery erupted. Laughter, claps, a few shouts. Torres banged his gavel, face stern. Enough. Mr. Trump, stick to the point. No rallies here. Trump shrugged, unfazed, turning to the jury. Point is, folks, I'm not the bad guy. They are, trying to punish success. Laws are like businesses. Bad ones fail. This one's failing bigly. A woman in the jury smiled, caught by his charm. Torres sighed, flipping through the law book again. There's something here, he admitted, almost himself. The 2018 ruling, it does set a bar. Reyes paled, her last stand crumbling. Trump seized it, voice soaring. See? I'm right, always right. They hate winners, Eddie. Always have. The room tilted. Torres stared at Trump, no longer just a judge, but a man rethinking everything. The jury whispered, the gallery roared, and Reyes slumped, her fight fading. Trump wasn't just defending. He was rewriting the rules his way. And the endgame loomed. The Miami courtroom felt like a pressure cooker about to blow, the air thick with sweat and anticipation. Judge Eddie Torres sat hunched over his bench, the law book splayed open, his glasses perched low as he traced the 2018 precedent Trump had flung into the fray. Prosecutor Clara Reyes gripped her chair's edge, her once sharp navy suit now wrinkled, her face a mix of exhaustion and disbelief. Donald Trump, 78, stood like a king reclaiming his throne, red tie blazing, golden hair catching the light. His grin was unshakable, a victor's glow. The jury watched, some nodding, others scribbling notes. The gallery buzzed. Reporters hammered out headlines. Hashtag Trump wins again. Torres exhaled hard, setting the book down with a soft thud. All right, he said, voice low but carrying weight. I've heard enough. The room snapped to silence, every breath held. He looked at Reyes, then Trump, his sharp eyes flickering with something new. Respect, maybe, or frustration. Ms. Reyes, you came in swinging, big claims, big evidence. But that report? A disaster. And this law? He tapped the page. It's a mess. Contradicts itself worse than a politician's promises. A few jurors chuckled, breaking the tension. Reyes shot up, voice cracking. Your Honor, he's still broke. Torres cut her off with a raised hand. Save it. Mr. Trump's right about one thing. If the rules don't fit, you can't punish the player. He turned to Trump, leaning forward. You, sir, are a handful. I walked in here thinking you'd crash and burn. But you didn't just dodge. You turned this whole damn case upside down. The gallery gasped, phones buzzing with live updates. Trump puffed his chest, nodding. Told you, Eddie, best mind, tremendous brain. Everyone says so. Torres snorted, a half-smile breaking through. Don't push it. Here's the ruling. Trump horizon stays clean. No grounds to proceed. Case dismissed. The gavel slammed, a gunshot in the silence. Reyes sank in her seat, head in hands, her knockout dream shattered. The jury clapped, some reluctantly, others with gusto. The gallery exploded. Cheers, boos, a chaotic roar. Reporters shouted, Mr. Trump. Reaction. He turned, waving like a rock star. Fantastic win. Best win. Logic, folks, always beats the losers. Believe me, outside, the Miami sun blazed as Trump strode onto the courthouse steps, cameras swarming. Donald, what's next? A journalist yelled. He adjusted his tie, slipping on sunglasses. Next? More winning, tremendous winning. I'm the champ, always have been. His voice dropped, sly and sharp. But think about this, folks. Law's gotta be great like America. These old rules? Garbage. Time to fix 'em. or we're stuck with the past. Sad. The crowd surged, microphones thrusting forward, hashtag spiking, hashtag Trump rules. Back inside, Torres lingered at the bench, staring at the empty room. He's a tornado, he muttered to a clerk, shaking his head. Didn't just win, he made us question everything. The clerk nodded. Think he's right about the laws? Torres paused, then shrugged. Maybe. That's the scary part. The verdict was done, but the echo lingered. Trump hadn't just beaten the system. He'd dared it to evolve. Hours later, TV pundits dissected it all. Legal genius or lucky showman? One asked. Another grinned. Both. That's Trump. Social media raged. Some hailed him a hero, others a menace. But the real question cut deeper, sparked by his parting shot. Should laws chase progress like he does, or cling to tradition? The cameras faded, but the debate roared on. Trump, already on to his next fight, had left more than a win. He'd left a challenge. And in his world, that was just another Tuesday.